Chapter 52. The forest grove was ancient and primeval, and any who might have wandered into it might have felt as if every tree had sprung from the soil itself before there were words for soil, for trees. Each broad trunk was pockmarked from the scars of wind and the storms of seasons past, pockmarked, but unbent. And between the great branches and the all-encompassing canopy above came the gentle light that was the hallmark of the time of phosphor, a rich, golden amber which brought up earlier days and fonder memories, and oozed out from behind bold holes in the sky before collapsing to the ground below. It was not just the light that fell in a collapse. Mighty hardwoods that had not yielded to ice nor ash nor choking skies howled and were splintered asunder as Dragunov fell from the high blue sky to the ground below, crushing wood into pulp and soil into a thick, viscous slurry as his tail cast about, trying to anchor him to the ground. With no success. Finally, the grove returned to silence, save the long and shallow breathing of the great beast, his eyes shut. Golden irises that almost seemed to have been formed of resin or the light above did not blink, and the tiny, but vicious cuts scored visibly, just under scales as seemingly unbreakable as the trees around him, now flattened and rent. Fragments of a poem, or perhaps a song, danced throughout his mind, but Dragunov could not remember them. Even his hate and desire for vengeance could not burn so white-hot, not now, for he could not remember where the wounds had come from, so suddenly had they torn themselves into his flesh. But he was as strong as the unbroken sky itself, and soon enough would heal, this he knew. The island that was the world would not let him rest until his duty was complete, after all, and only thing could he return to his dreams, as uneasy as they might be. Slowly, heavily, Dragunov risked opening one of his golden eyes. A lunacy of images swam into view, the broken trees, and where his claws had left visible scars in what was left of trunk or bough, the hidden sky above, less hidden now that he had destroyed much of the canopy during his collapse. And the strange monument nearby. Dragunov had never associated so much with the children of the earth, even when they were also children of the sky. Sometimes they liked to build things, and these things could even be very beautiful, but even when he tried to understand them, they were the tools and artworks of those earth-born creatures, and as alien to him as his ways were to them. But this was a mystery, for had not most of the children of the earth left, or disappeared, or perhaps even. And yet, here was a funny thing. It served no apparent purpose besides perhaps a waystone, or monument of some kind. Nothing in it suggested malice or desire for conquest. It could have easily been mistaken for a cairn if it were not carved of solid stone, and then rather garishly painted over. For some reason, the thought filled him with more exhaustion than any of his wounds did, but that was the curse of his long life. To spend it dreaming of beings that lived and moved so much more quickly was a terrible, strange pang in the mind, and it was better to dream again. He might meet that strange girl, again. She had seemed to understand on some level, perhaps. She had known about Lazarus. Lazarus. But the horrible numb pain, so different than the tiny little hook tendrils that had assaulted him earlier, cut down his anger before he could use it to rouse himself. And Dragunov tried. His body shook as he tried to rise from the ground, then slipped in the pool of slurry, mud, and... Was that his own blood? Did his blood look as that, or was it merely pulp mixed in with the mulched and rendered carcasses of trees? More than anything, Dragunov desired to return to sleep and to not think about this waking world, for there were others, and they scared him less. They did not possess monuments he could not comprehend, or rivals he could not find. But duty was sacred to the great dragon, and even pain and fear fell before it. Besides, his eyes began to open as his will overpowered the pain and confusion he had felt earlier. At once, he began to have an inkling what drawn him to this place, for such an empty grove had no real purpose to him, seemingly abandoned by any who might have known him while he yet woke, or might have known the form of his rival. The ground had not just been stomped flat by his flailing, it had been meticulously crushed and beaten and flattened into submission, and the signs of the earth children, the earth workers were strong here. It was here that their black soot despoiled it, charred and smelling of heat and hatred. here that it drowned out all that was natural and right, here where the tiny cracks tore through black, bracken tar and steam escaped, and it was not steam from a warm, idle day. Roaring, a pillar of light broke from his teeth to the sky above, and where it touched the air itself thinned and tried to flee. Perhaps it had been no attacker, but a friend attempting to guide his just cause. For the hand of Lazarus was visible even here, in the wreckage of the hardened earth blood. Clearly, it was not just the greed of those who played with the world beyond that cast the die, this time, but the misguided children of earth who had set about, desperate to shape what they did not understand. Memory fired by instinct, and he recalled a serpent, one of the young and wingless ones, who tunneled within the earth. She had admired the sky, but could not know it truly, for she had no wings, none at all. And there must be more like that, and he knew how their curse must ache, but to defy the order of things. It all hurt, an exhaustion of a rest so many eons long did nothing to hasten his senses, but he could not afford to rest any longer. With claw and tooth and the heat of heavenly radiation, he tore at the oppressive black stone until it fell from the earth. Soon would come an end. Chapter End.